So for my world, I picked Divinity Original Sin. Now, I think most people that are familiar with it are kind of surprised that I would pick it for world over mechanics. However, I do have another game that I want to talk about for mechanics. The reason I chose Divinity for world is just because, again, like Skyrim, it just allows you so much freedom. There's just so much going on. Now, it doesn't have that kind of living world that Skyrim does, with day-night cycles and people going on around their daily lives. But it does have that. You can kind of go anywhere. You can do anything. You can solve things multiple ways. Uh, there's lots of quests that are, in fact, I think most of the quests are relatively skippable. Usually there's multiple things you can do to move to get progression. So, for example, um, the part that I'm playing with online with my friends, and to get to the next part, we had to unlock 3 source points, and I think there's something like 5 or 6 or 7 different quests that allow you to unlock source points. So there's not even, say, a main quest per se. There's just kind of a main goal that you're constantly working towards, and I think that was really interesting in that there is a lot going through where you can see like some influence from they have the culture of the elves and they have the culture of the humans and the dwarves, and you can go through and you can kind of interact with these individual groups and characters, and or you could just completely bypass them and never have to see them at all and not even know they're there. And I think that's just really, really cool that they did that, and that there's just so much that really, where most games like, say, Skyrim would say, here's the story, we're going to lead you to some of our big events or to some of our highlights, some of our main attractions. And they're going to send you on a path that's going to take you to those. And then you can kind of explore out from there. But Divinity is really just kind of like, you know what? There you are. Go at it. And there's really very little in terms of direction. It's not always good. I'll be honest. A lot of times I just pick up quests. I don't know why I'm doing a quest. I just know I'm supposed to go in this direction. Because there is a lot of story. But I like the open worldness of it, and I really wish that they had more games that did that, because it does really have that Dungeons and Dragons feel, where, obviously in a video game you have a lot more limitations than your imagination, but this really does open that up. Now, I didn't go into any of the statistics of it, so I need to go back and back up all the way to the beginning. All right, so Divinity Original Sin 2, it's released by Larian Studios. It originally came out on Windows back in September 2017. Later came out for the PS4 and Xbox One on August 2018. And then just last year in September, it came out for the Switch. So it is currently on PC and all 3 major consoles. And it has also been, I think it's been announced for the iPad, but it is not released on the iPad yet. So there should be an iPad version coming out in the future. So I think this is a really great game for people that enjoy Dungeons and Dragons and that sort of sword and board type game, but also they really enjoy freedom and they really enjoy exploring a world. And people who are really big into details. There's a lot of games where you have lore and it's just presented at face value. There's a lot of games where there's lore and it's just kind of like way out of the way and you really have to dig to find it. This is one of those you have to dig to find it games. I wouldn't say the lore is as deep as it is in a lot of games. I would say like the Elder Scrolls probably has a lot deeper lore. But yeah, there is a lot out there for people that like to explore. And I think the best part about it is, like I said, there's so much to do that you could play it 4 or 5 times and approach things just in completely different ways every single time. So I think that freedom is a really great thing. So.
Do you think you'll play this more than once, like you're playing it with your friends now? Do you think you'll play it by yourself?
It's one of those things where I was playing it with my friends, and I was really thinking, like, you know what? I want to do a lone wolf run and go through this game on my own and do that again. I don't know if I will, only because, as we just covered, I'm a bit of a completionist, and my backlog is quite large. So once I've had this main story done, I would like to go back and do it again. However, I would want time to do that. There are other games that I have priorities on. So if for some miraculous reason I suddenly am able to finish everything, yes, I would absolutely want to come back and take a different approach to this. But until then, I do have other priorities to finish first, because I have already gotten the gist of it by playing it multiplayer with my friends.
All right. So the reason, listeners, that we do this kind of show is to give you guys games that we think you should buy or you should play. So Adam, my question to you is, who do you think this game is not for?
I would say this is not for people that like direction. I've seen recently on a lot of forums and stuff that some people feel there's an oversaturation of open world games, and some people want more kind of the traditional guided games that kind of give you a set path. So this is definitely not for those people because there is a lot of freedom here. This is also not for the kind of person who just wants to kind of jump around, and there is a lot of planning that goes into this. So if you are the kind of person who likes to just create custom builds all the time and constantly changing your character and that sort of thing, I don't think you're going to get very far in this game just because there's so much to do that you're going to constantly be re-experimenting, and you're just not going to get very far. This game is definitely about synergy and how your character's abilities work with other characters' abilities. For instance, you put oil on the ground, you can set it on fire. You put water on the ground, you can electrify it, or you can put fire down, which will turn it into steam, which interrupts enemies' vision. So there's definitely a lot of synergy in the abilities. And if you're the kind of person who is always trying to like I have a friend who's always trying to customize stuff, and he's changed his build 4 or 5 times already, and each time, he's finally found one that he really, really likes. But up until then, it was just like, oh, you do a fight, he needs to rebuild. You do a fight, he needs to rebuild. Because trying to find that thing that he really liked. So if you're that kind of person, you might find it fun, but you might find it as a bit of a slog as well.
Okay, that's I think that is the perfect information that people need to know to make a decision about whether to pick this up if they haven't picked it up, or they bought Divinity 1 but haven't bought Divinity 2 yet. Adam and I've played this twice. Adam's playing it right now. Highly recommend it, as Adam has said before.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to our second category, which is games, RPG games that have really good story for each of our respective viewpoints.